3 games, it hasn't quite been up to par. Just what did you see go wrong tonight?
Yeah, it was really, I got to watch the film, but I was really disappointed about that. I'd say we'd spent about 70% of our practices on defense and the matchups and understanding who we had to guard and how good their three-point shooting was. But that was a very poor performance on the defensive end. We didn't really get going until the last 5 minutes of the game. We needed that type of urgency from the tip. But it was, it was really lackluster. We missed a lot of assignments. We really, it was just a little surprising. So before I really critique that, I was taken aback by that because I understood it a little bit out west. But I will say, I want to give credit to Minnesota. They're long and they really all shoot the three ball really, really well. And they have a good inside presence. So it's not, I think it's really unfair to say, oh, it was just we didn't do this or that. I think they're a really good team. They played UCLA to 10 points at home. They've really been really, really close to some of the other teams that I've been watching them. I was concerned about the matchup, but I am disappointed in the defense. But before I give you a reason, I need to watch the film.
Ava said there's not concern right now, but there is urgency. Would you second that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, this was, you can, I'm sure fan base is like, oh, it's a must win, what's wrong? There's certainly some things wrong, but it's still early. It's just, you're just taking yourself out of some special things, right? It's not, there's a lot of basketball left, good and bad, that can happen to any team, right? Michigan State last night, who had it that, Maryland was going to go and they lose on their home court. The league is really tough. So we got to really channel our frustrations, but I think you kind of have to guard, you have to mourn a couple losses of the goals that we might have had, right? Protect your home court, right? Different things we've been trying to do individual. I won't bore you with all the things within the game, but we've really let some of those individual goals. So you have to give yourself a little time to mourn that, we dropped this at home and all the things, and it needs to become a motivation. But I think we have to guard with a lot of absolutism in our profession because we still got 6 regular season games left. A lot can happen. We can go 6-0, we're gonna feel a lot better, right? But you have to guard with this urgency and something's terribly wrong. And that's the balance I've been trying to strike since California. That's what I told the team afterwards. I really thought that was a two game hard stretch, and we were going to be fine. But when I say fine, what I told the team at halftime, it's not the result I was cared about of that halftime of the score. It was how it happened, and that's on me. I really thought we hadn't prepared. I loved our game plan. So I have to study that because I am a little stymied tonight with that.
How do you, when you say there's a lack of urgency, how do you as a coach and a coaching staff create a sense of urgency with the team in the middle of the game?
Well, it's a funny thing about age, right? I'm 57. I got a lot of urgency about a lot of things. I know my time's a ticking, right? When you're young, it's hard to get that urgency. We've been talking about urgency since halftime of USC, right? And how you're playing that. And so I need to continue to figure that out. But age is one of the best ways to become urgent. But they're young, they're 18 to 22, and I got the summer, I got next game, or if you're a role player, maybe I got time, or you're a starter, I'll get it, it'll just happen. And that's one thing I did talk to the team about, and after I cooled down a little bit, I said, we will not just win because we're a Carver. I said, the fan base is going to think that because Carver is like, but you cannot let that thought in your mind because I know how good they are. And I think there was a safety a little bit, and I think there needs to be a little bit more of, what do I want to say? A pride and a gratitude for what we get to play in front of. And by golly, that should be a lot of urgency. been built before, and you want to keep the standard, and so I got to keep hammering that home.
Probably goes without saying, after you lose McCabe, you need a lot out of Kylie and Addie. It
Mhm.
hasn't happened in these 3 games.
Mhm.
What more do you need from them? How do you get more out of
You
them?
know, I think I got to keep finding combinations, right? Is kind of what you're thinking and hoping is going to happen. The positive is typically if you have performances by Stalkey or by Hayden and Chit Chat. I mean, Chit Chat, that was worthy of a win. I mean, 12 assists to 1 turnover, shot it pretty well. I really challenged her after the trip. I said, listen, we need you to give us a little more every game because we got to pick up what we've lost. And I thought she's really answered the bell. And I just have to, keep finding, buttons to push. It just is, just haven't found that continuity yet with that. And, we just have to look at all the things, if you got a defensive lineup, you have an offensive lineup, are people better coming off the bench? Are people better starting? I think everything I just have to look to give us the best opportunity to win. But I know we can do better, and we're going to need to do better at that spot.
Coach Jensen, first quarter, 25 points come out shooting out through the field. You talk about, trying to find some offense after the table went down. What changed for you after the second quarter to the end of the game with the offense remained stagnant?
I think we let our defense dictate. Our defense, we were very uninspired on the defensive end. And you can get into a defeatist feeling. You're just like, you blow an assignment, right? And then the next time you kind of have your hand there and they score again, right? So we let that kind of be the hangover. And so then you're coming down and we hit that cold spell. We took some elbow shots by the post, didn't go. We took a couple tough shots. The screen and roll was really working, and we took some, tougher pull-ups. So we just didn't make some of the efficient reads. And then, boy, when you get down by that much, there's a pressure. Your internal pressure goes up, and it's harder to play relaxed. And we just took some tough shots, but our defense controlled our whole affect, our lack of defense.
Are you, and you mentioned that there were blown assignments, things like that on the defensive end. Are you surprised that lasted for really almost the whole game rather than maybe a quarter or two? Were you surprised that it was kind of a full game?
Well, yeah, because I kept switching matchups. I just, because they are a little tougher. The matchup, Rakowski, you had to have guard Hannah. We thought she might guard her, but they started with Battle, right? So number 3 was guarding Hannah inside. It started off pretty well, right? And then we kind of got quiet and didn't go to that, even though we were trying to force that little matchup a little bit, trying to free up Deal with some ball screens, right? She's got a pretty good pull-up. But we kind of went away from that a little bit. But when we were defensively, we were putting Hannah on 25, and then we had to change her off of it because she was getting hung up and, forgetting to chase the screens. Now, granted, Hannah is more of a guard some of the bigger ones, not so much of a bigger 4. Grokowski, they start her as the 4, in my opinion. She's more of a 3-4, and Hannah's more of a 4-3. So we were kind of switching, which Kylie, and then we had to switch Kylie off the matchup because she wasn't, quite handling it. And switching Addie off the matchup. And that's usually not happening for us. Kylie's usually our stellar, but, we can only put Kylie on 1. So if one person gets hot, like 10 got hot, Braun recruited the heck out of her. And when she gets hot, it's over. When Battle gets hot with those pull-ups, they're silky smooth. So if you let 2 people start feeling comfortable, this team is really difficult to guard. So then I felt like you're trying to, the ship's kind of sinking, so you're trying to put that matchup. And you just can't try a zone with a team like that. I should have maybe, but it's scary too when they're shooting 86% to not go player-to-player coverage.
You don't play until Wednesday. Is that a good thing, bad thing?
Oh, I hate it right now. I wanted to play after we lost to UCLA. I'd have played the next morning if they let us. I'm just wired like that. So yeah, maybe they want to break and, rest and all that, but heck no. I hate bye weeks when we lose. Capital H, to the A, to the T, to the E, but it is what it is, and I gotta figure out, I gotta figure out the rotations, and gotta be patient. Probably gotta give them another extra day off. I don't like that either, but that's probably what they need. It's a grind. I don't personally think it's a grind, if I may. A lot of people say about the grind. I think it is such a blessing to be a college athlete. Boy, what they get, how we get to, but you hear the grind, or a pro player, just such a grind. I don't think it should be viewed at that. I think it's hard work, but boy, what an opportunity. You get to play in front of these fans, you get to fly all over, you get to play on TV, you get so many things. But I know we get tired, so we will work hard, we'll have an extra day of rest. But long-winded, no, I wish we had a game on Sunday.
Coach Jensen, talking about defense, how much would you attribute that to like an execution versus like an effort, coming off the California district? How disappointing would you feel to continue to coach effort this late in the season?
Yeah, I think that is disappointing. I do think that Minnesota, I want to give credit. I always just think it's just disrespectful when you sit here and you're like, oh, I think they're a great basketball team. I think that Dawn's done a heck of a job. They, probably was on that bubble, were on that bubble last year, went to that WBIT, won it, cut down those nets to the confetti. When you get into a tournament like that, there's a lot that happens. There's a lot of that motivation, and they work really, really hard. And I've recruited most of those kids, and they came in here with a mission, and they delivered. So credit them. Us, we, I think, are playing just a little bit not to lose instead of to win. When we were cooking, we were playing to win. We were playing, and no one expected anything out of us, right? We weren't even in the top 5. And so what happens, and what I personally have been trying to guard against, is listening to the noise and paying attention to it. Because I didn't even use it as motivation to start the year. I just was like, we're young, we graduated, Lucy Olson was a great point guard. I had this point guard coming in that's pretty small. And then we kind of had this synergy, and they were playing with a lot less pressure. And then when we started to kind of grow it, it was pretty fun, and we were playing looser. And the minute we won that Ohio State game, and we had a little adversity, we've lost that a little bit. And I got to get them back a little bit to that, like, hey, the story can be even more interesting if we learn how to handle that adversity. But I think what's happening, we were playing not to lose, and we just wanted to feel good again, and we just want to get the win, we're going to be fine. That's what it felt like in those huddles. And then if we can just get the win. And sometimes that happens with the team, but you got to create your breaks. You got to keep leaning into it. So I'm hopeful. What I've seen with the resiliency earlier is that resiliency will kick in. We saw bits and pieces again at the end, right? They kind of just were like, forget it. When we went to our full court, we were playing, we just got to get it back. I saw that team that I'd seen earlier in the fall. I saw that team when we, got that gritty win, had to come back at Northwestern. I saw that team that beat Michigan State and had that confidence. So I got to get that back. But when you're playing not to lose instead of just playing to win, and that's that that quote. It's much easier to get to the top than to stay there. My mission, as long as I get to be coach here, is I want to be the top. I've got to do a better job getting them ready for games, getting them hungry to be at the top. Because everybody wants to climb. It's so fun, and you don't have the pressure when you're the one that, Minnesota played that, right? Well, where do we rank still? We were 10th. To me, I want the ending. But they're coming in here a little lighter because they're not ranked. Are they ranked?
No.
So, boy, that's fun. I want it to be fun when we're ranked and everybody's shooting for us. But I have not done a good job of flipping that over. And I got to keep pushing buttons.
You mentioned that maybe the fan base feels like there's pressure mounting, and you don't want the team to necessarily feel like there's pressure mounting during this 3-game losing streak now. How do you kind of balance making sure that the team isn't getting too caught up in the pressure of a 3-game losing streak, but also understanding that, you know, you got Washington coming up, and you got to go to Nebraska. And
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, I think we're playing a lot of young kids that are doing a lot of good things. I mean, Journey Houston had another really nice game. She's gonna do some freshman things, but another nice game. Chastity had a really nice game, right? Ava had a really nice game, right? Taylor had some good moments, not some great. But we're playing a lot, yeah, you know, Hannah's there, you know, Kylie, but most of it's younger. So I sometimes have to step back and realize, okay, boy, there's still some really good things that are gonna happen, hopefully next Wednesday, but down the pike. And so offensively, I think we look better offensively tonight than we have. I gotta look at the film, but we got some good looks. They just didn't go down. We had some good penetrations. You know, Chat got a good thing. So there were some, I think, improvements there, but I gotta watch the film. It's just that defense, and I think I just gotta, I was so confident coming into this, but it was quickly apparent in those huddles that you could see that a little bit of that, man, we can't lose this. And man, you know, all of us in life, you can't go into I can't do this, you know. When you start to focus on that, it's usually what you do.
All right, thank you.
All right.